Okay, it looks like we are live. We are back after a few weeks of not being online, live streaming, and all that good stuff. We are back, okay, ladies and gentlemen. Like we are live. Oh, we are back after a few weeks of not being online, live stream. See, this what happens with technical stuff, right? You never know what's going to happen. And that's the beautiful thing about live. Anything goes. Anything goes. Anyway, we're live, and my name is Iris Alliston. I am the host of the FEMCEO Real Business Talk, where I bring in awesome entrepreneurs, speakers, coaches, experts in their field, and we gather together and we talk about business, life, struggles, successes, you name it, right? Almost, almost. And here I am. I'm with my wonderful entrepreneurs and friends, and I'm just so happy to have them with me again. Is Crystal Fushi. She is an attorney. She is an awesome leader, and I have the chance to get to know her over many, many months. And I can't wait for you all to meet her as well. The next one is Miss Elizabeth Judith. She is my TEDx speaker. She is extraordinary. She's also a leader in her field and a trailblazer. Last but not least, Denise McNerney. I've known her for years. And actually, this is the first time that she's joining us. So I'm so excited. Thank you, Denise.
My pleasure.
And we also have, I just let Mark in. So any second now, he's going to be joining us. Now, while he does, try to figure out what's going on behind the scenes, because as you know, technical stuff this morning, as a matter of fact, we had some issues trying to get on, and that's why we're a little late. So, but Mark will be coming on in a second now, but he's also a friend of mine. He is a TEDx speaker. And as a matter of fact, a new author. Oh my God, yes. A new author, right? We know Mark for a while now, and he's just so wonderful. All right. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about, myths and misconceptions about being an entrepreneur, being a coach, being an expert in our field, being a consultant, right? A business professional. Because oftentimes, and this actually happened to me this week, that I had 5 people who reached out to me, telling me pretty much, hi, Iris, I see what you do and you're doing fantastic. It seems like you got it all together. And, it seems like your life is easy. It's not. It's not at all easy. I don't, Mark. Okay, I see you now. Look at you. Fantastic haircut, right? Yeah. Oh, you're muted, hon. You're muted.
Yeah. Yes. I found a new barber.
Well, he's a keeper, but yeah, you look good. You look good. But I was saying that a lot of people don't realize all the behind the scenes that we all go through as an entrepreneur. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting out in your business or you've already somewhat made it, right? You're already successful and you're just keeping the momentum. There's always struggles there along the way. Now, granted, when you're starting out, that your struggles might be a little bit it is complex no matter what, right? No matter what level we're in, but it just seems like everything's new and it's overwhelming. And as a startup entrepreneur, it can get really not only frustrating, annoying, but overwhelming. But once you get the momentum, once you figure out your routine and all that good stuff, then it becomes a little easier. And it's all about just, number one, practicing what you do, your craft, and staying focused. And number 2, mastering your craft. And I know many of you here with me, you guys are masters in your field as a speaker, coach, consultant, CEOs in our industry. And we know what it takes, right? For many, many years, we have to practice. We have to fail. Then we have to figure out what's working, what's not working, and all that good stuff. So having said all of that, As you know, for those of you who have been following us, my FEMCEO live broadcast is pretty much unscripted. So almost anything goes. Now, it's not my fault if Denise starts singing behind the background because, you know, she does that and starts singing and dancing. So, you know, forgive me. No, I'm kidding. I might join her too. But, but all right, everybody. We are going to talk about this topic because I know it will resonate. It resonates to many, many of us. Who would like to start? Who would like to start? Don't be shy.
Oh, I'm not shy. I'll start the conversation.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll go misconception by misconception, right? And so and have a conversation around each. The misconception is that you have more freedom. And what
I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24 hours a day.
So the misconception is freedom. Yes, you have freedom for your schedule, but you don't have freedom from responsibility. I'm still, you know, I have the freedom. Sure, I can, you know, I can take a day off whenever I want, but you have to remember when you take that day off, the person that you're hurting is yourself. You're taking a day off from yourself and moving forward rather than taking a day off from a 9 to 5 where somebody else can cover you. There's no one else to cover, right? I have people that I can delegate to for sure, but I still have responsibilities and my responsibilities lie with the team. So with that said, you know, anybody else wants to join in on that comment?
Yeah. Absolutely. You are 100%, 1,000% right. Because people would think, oh yeah, you're the boss now in your field. You call in the shots. You know, you can delegate tasks. But the fact is, the reality is they still need us. You know, it's still our business. And let me tell you though, no one else know about our business besides us, the CEO, the founders of our business. We can delegate tasks. We can tell them what they need to do. But the thing is, you know what's missing? Passion, right? Now, I'm not saying that we have awful teams. I'm not saying that I have really good teams, but it's like, it's just different when you have your own business because that's your baby. And you, like my coach used to tell me, you know, you pay full price as an entrepreneur. You pay with sweat equity, you pay with time equity, you pay with, you know, a lot of sacrifices that goes behind the scenes that not a lot of people understand or see. They only see the glitter and the glam and, hey, I made it, because we want to celebrate those things too. Right, Crystal?
Yeah, I was just thinking most people see like, you know, your LinkedIn profile or Facebook, and those are just highlights, right? It's very rare that somebody talks about how hard it is or the bad times or things that you go through or the white knuckling it, you know, is this gonna be successful? Am I gonna make it? You know, I think you hit the nail on the head with one of the biggest misconceptions is that everybody thinks you have it all together. And I was like, y'all, I'm just running around and everything's on fire and I'm just trying to make sure it doesn't get any bigger. You know, it is, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is that you are in charge. It's glamorous. You're living this life. You're your own boss. And I was like, yes, but you don't see me behind the scenes, like traveling to these different places, you know, getting business, doing the networking, doing the talking, building the business. Times where I may want to go to sleep and I don't, and I'm up doing something. I am getting better, Denise, with setting boundaries, because I realized, you know, I have to have time for myself too. So yes, it can be very time consuming and overwhelming. But you will have to learn to set those boundaries or you will burn out and drain very quickly, because it can get very overwhelming very quickly. But I just wanted to talk about, you know, this misconception. Like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's like a line that goes like this. And this is like a day in the life of the entrepreneur, not a month, not a week. This is like a day, right? You wake up, you're great, you're high, you do something happens at 11 o'clock. Oh my God, this is gonna be terrible. And then something else happens and then it goes down. And that's how it looks like every day. And you're like, oh my God, am I gonna have enough work today? Do I, is somebody gonna, ask me to do work? It's all of these things plus, trying to keep up. And now you have like social media, which is like a whole different realm. So in trying to keep up with like, the actual work that you get paid to do, but then trying to get your name out there, trying to get broadcasted, trying to be on social media, things that you're probably not trained in, which who in the world ever thought when Facebook and all this stuff came up, there's going to be like careers of people teaching you how to do it, how to, make it better, how to look at algorithms and things like that. But even just trying to build the business and get your name out there is hard enough. Most entrepreneurs, and I think probably myself included, when we first kind of branched out, we maybe had 1 or 2 clients in the very beginning, so that that step was a little bit easier, right, to step out on than just going full force. I don't have any clients, I'm going to build it. It's all built from the ground up, but it's a little bit easier when you have like 1 or 2 clients to start with, so you at least know you have a base and things like that. But I think in kind of response to Denise, there is this like, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24 hours. Yes, I do work harder in my business because I wear more hats, right? When I'm in house, somebody else does the payroll. Somebody else does, all the admin tasks that I have to do, but now that's up to me. So I wear more hats. So I do have to do more work during the day. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think I agree with Iris. There are times that it is glitter and glam when, all the pieces come together and things work and it's great, but it's ebbs and flows, right? So it's some days it's going to be very high, some days it might be low, some days it might be medium. And so I think that that's one of the misconceptions, because people just think it's a high like this all the time, and it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. Especially working from home is, how do you set that boundary? I mean, you have to have an office dedicated so you can shut the door, right? For years, I didn't have that. And then I had it, didn't have it again, due to a move. And that's creating that boundary is important. Just being able to shut the door and shut off. Right. Crystal, to your point, I have to dedicate an hour a day just to LinkedIn. Talking to people and just responding, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And giving yourself that permission too, because there is always something that can be done. And so you really do have to set those parameters and those boundaries for yourself. That is the biggest challenge for me, because through my upbringing and everything too, a lot of us are also conditioned to that we always need to be doing, and that's when our value is. And as an entrepreneur, you don't, when you work for someone else, when the clock is off, most jobs will give you permission to shut the door and be able to go home. And a lot of us really struggle to give ourselves that permission. You're a great example of that, Iris, by the way, of how you live your life. I love hearing how you designate your time for your vacations, because it's not just even turning off the clock like a lot of us, to step away for a week or 2 weeks to go away for vacation. That's something that a lot of entrepreneurs wind up losing when they try to be claiming that freedom. But then when they have the responsibility and they realize that everything comes with a cost and they have all these other people depending on it, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm. It is. Mark, would you like to add to that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of good wisdom and a lot of intuitive insight that I have heard. I can add a lot of things. One of the things I want to add is success in a solopreneur or small business, medium business, and then beyond. You have to separate yourself from whether it's a character-driven business, whether you are the character, you're the charismatic leader, and people look into you, you are building to that. As you grow and you create systems, I think you have to separate your character from scaling your business. That's number one. And number two is, I think success is never obvious. There's many ways to it. And for me, it's always been collaborative effort, is being vulnerable and saying, okay, can I test this idea? Does this idea is really stinky? Oh, okay. I thought it was a good idea, but the market told me otherwise. oh, this is what the market is telling me. Okay, so you have to put away your ego and serve the market. Whatever is your clients are saying. It's not what you want, it's what your clients want. So you put the ego aside and say, okay, all right, let me improve on that and make it profitable. So it's not just you, it's what market is saying, and put your ego aside. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that. And I'm glad I did. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And to add to that, Mark, it's the fact that, often and not, we think, or I used to think, that entrepreneurs know everything. We don't. And then when I became an entrepreneur, I was like, wait a minute, I don't know everything, which is fine. And that's the beautiful part about it, because as an entrepreneur, we are not only creators, but we're innovators. We have to invent things. And like you said, Mark, we have to test things out, and then we try again, because you never know the market. It often shifts. And I've learned that over the years as a marketer as well. And that's another thing, when we get into this game of entrepreneurship, we might be thinking, oh, I want to be a coach. But no one really tells you to go beyond coaching. Not only being a coach, you also have to learn how to market yourself, right? And you have to be this multifaceted entrepreneur along the way, while you're still trying to master your first thing that you wanted to do. And it can get not only overwhelming, but it's frustrating and annoying to many people. And within the first year or second year, they just give up. And because they don't know how to shift their mindset, or they don't know how to collaborate with people and network with people, because number one, you cannot do it alone. You can't. As an entrepreneur, we need a community. We need a village who are not only going to, raise us up whenever we fall down, but who are also going to push us to go to another level. And over the years, I've learned that, number one, I can't do it alone. I've seen my mom did it for many, many years, and I saw her struggle. And she would stay up until 3, 4 o'clock at night, counting whatever it is that she's doing, counting money, finance, whatever, right? And making sure that the books is in line, because she had her own business. And I did not want that. The bad part is she missed out on spending time with me as her child. So one of the things that I made sure that, and first of all, I didn't realize I was going to become an entrepreneur, because when I was growing up, I told myself, I am not going to be like my mom. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get good grades. I'm going to get a good, high paying job, get married, and maybe have a dog. I wasn't even thinking about having kids, right? But then when I had my children, especially my first one, that's when I realized there's something more out there than working 9 to 5 and not being happy about it. I'm not saying that entrepreneurship is for everybody, but it wasn't for me. But I did not realize we have to work 5x, 10 times harder than having to just go to work 9 to 5. But I would not change it for the world, because nowadays I have built up my business where, I do earn money every single day now. It wasn't like that. It took me years, almost 8-10 years to do this. So you've got to be in this game for the long haul. And that's why I see a lot of entrepreneurs who will drop the first year or even the first 5 years of their business, because they don't know how to innovate. They don't know how to shift their mindset. And it's tough. It really is tough. Right, Elizabeth? It's tough.
It really is. And I think we should really articulate it as a myth that people who are entrepreneurs think they have to do it alone. I love that you really brought that up, because I think it's a real game changer once we recognize that that is not true, that most of the successful entrepreneurs are absolutely working and collaborating, even if they're even the sole person in their business. They are working from community. And I think that's huge. And for me, I think I'm in an earlier stage than a lot of you. And my biggest misconception is what Crystal was talking about. I loved how you used that there's fires like all the time. Having spent so many years in my head, I am a recovering perfectionist. This is what I coach people on: self-discipline, perfectionism, people pleasing. These are the issues that I have had to overcome to be able to start thriving in my business. And that perfectionism, I had it in my head that I needed to have it all figured out, so it would be perfect, so I wouldn't have to be judged, that there wouldn't be any mistakes, and if I was doing it right, everything would go smoothly. I had systems in place. I had that's what entrepreneurship is. They have all these systems in place and things get done, and it's not like that at all. And I loved what you were saying too, Iris, because I was wanting to coach, and it's like, what's all this other stuff that I have to do, and resenting it and resisting it and not embracing that. It's like, you better get on board with that. And I had this huge breakthrough where, before I got into this, I actually was doing some producing, and I had produced a short video film. I had been doing some for a while, and directing, and this was going to be a step up. It was going to be a higher, investing a lot more money, a higher quality, getting a director in. I was going to submit it to festivals. Anyways, this was going to be locations and insurance. And, this was a bigger level than I had been doing before. And it was right around Hurricane Charlie. I had a jail. I had permission, a location to do that, everything. Then Hurricane Charlie came. And that went off the table. My actor was going to be moving to LA. It had to happen now. I had to do, and it just was this one fire after another. And I was at first I was freaking out. And I heard this producer actually talk about the job of producing. And they're like, the number one job of a producer is putting out fires. And something clicked when I did that, when I heard that. And I was like, oh, it doesn't mean something's going wrong. Everything's going right. This is the job and this is the game. And suddenly it turned into a game for me. I was like, oh, all these little things that come up. Not that I want to create fires or create the mindset that it means that there's fires happening all the time and everything's just a chaotic mess. But I could stop having these expectations that everything would be going smooth, if things are only going right when it's going smoothly, and accept that this is part of it and embrace it as a game. And I also suddenly realized that not only do I like it, I'm good at it. And I had forgotten that experience when I had gotten into the business of coaching and becoming an entrepreneur. And something came up and I was reminded of that experience. And I was like, oh my goodness, we're producers. We've got these one project after another with all these different pieces that we're trying to manage, and things are going to go wrong. We're creating new things all the time. Things are going to go wrong all the time. We're going to find out that the market, like Mark said, wants something completely different. We need to be able to shift. We set goals, we set deadlines. It doesn't mean when it goes according to plan that everything's going right. We can be learning and growing and adjusting. And that's the perfect thing for us to be happening, for us to be doing, and for what needs to be going on. And so I think it's really important, that misconception, to really get that clear and to embrace the fact that the truth is entrepreneurship is crazy new things, new challenges, shifting, pivoting all the time, putting out fires, like Crystal said. And if we can embrace that and accept that and make it kind of a game, and that's a sign that everything's going right. That's the name of the game. It was a game changer for me.
Right. Now, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Elizabeth, because I want to shift the topic a little bit, because we started very heavy on this topic, right? So now, as you know, you've been with me for a while. We tend to give strategies and tips on how we can make things better. And we typically tell our experience, our stories on what's working out in our business, right? And then what's not working and how we tweak, how we improve certain things here and there. So that way we can keep going and continue that momentum. So now let's shift a little bit where we can talk about some strategies. And as you know, still in the focus of entrepreneurship and debunking those misconceptions. And we have hit a lot of subjects and topics here within, less than half an hour. So, okay, I want to ask you guys, what is your motivational factor or strategies that you do in order for you to overcome some of those misconceptions that we face or have faced in the past? And as you know, we have mentioned a lot here. What do we do, basically? So anybody would like to share? Denise, would you like to start? Back to you.
I have a lot.
I know.
There's two things. When you're starting your business, you make a list of things that you're working in your business, make a list of things that you're working on your business. Keep those lists separate. Then you want to create a job description for yourself. And your job description should entail only those things that you can do, not what somebody else, not what you have to do, not the tasks that you have to do. But your job description is all those things that only you can do. And then once you have that set, everything else, you find somebody to delegate and make sure that you can delegate those tasks appropriately, right? You can bet as well that when you do delegate, you're going to have a month to 3 months of training on that person. And so that's going to cost you an opportunity cost.
Those are great. Yeah. Anybody else would like to add to that or share their views? Mark?
I have a lot, of course, to say. I mean, this is such a great topic. So many things are popping up in my head, about this journey, an entrepreneur, and also be in a position to say things honestly, because my journey started, maybe 10 years ago on my own. My first business failed. I even got like a loan from a family, and they still talk to me after, and it failed after all these years. It went nowhere, and I haven't repaid them yet. But I never talk about it. Those maybe ugly things, like things that are not so glamorous. They're not. For me, it's not necessarily just a specific strategy. For me, it's a mental shift to trust others. Like, okay, it's gonna get done. It's done is better than perfect. I don't have to control everything. Yeah, I mean, if I could, I would have done it already on my own. Oh, I didn't. That's why I need this person to do this now. Okay, that's why, because I would have done it, like half a year ago. Oh, that's why I'm working with them. Okay, that makes sense for me. So for me, I just have this dialogue, like, okay, this is why I need to trust. And that I learned to trust it and no longer be like a control freak. Like, okay, I'm just gonna let it go and just let it go and have this done. So it's a mental shift for me. It's about learning to trust. And I just wanted to say one other thing. An entrepreneur, we're not separate from relationships in our life. And just because you have decided to become an entrepreneur does not mean that you will have 100% support from your loved ones. They're like, okay, what are you doing now? And you're like, what? I'm doing these great things. Don't you love it? They said, no, they're not even going to buy your products or give you a review or do anything for you. And you're thinking, how could you not support me? So it's a shift. And it's for me, it's letting go. Well, they're not invested in this business the way you are. And it's not fair for you to expect it. And once I have that shift, my relationships improved, my business improved. I no longer was expecting like, help me. I just said, if you could, great. I still love you. Let's do this together. And it helped me so much.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Speaking of family, Mark, it took me 18 years to convince my youngest son to actually, join what I'm currently doing right now. So don't lose faith with your family. I'm the only entrepreneur in my family, but they all support me. But it took me 18 years to finally convince my young one, who is so smart. And I'm like, I'm telling him, you've got an entrepreneur spirit, but he's so focused on being a cyber crime engineer or something like that. Something have to do with computer or, something like that, which is awesome in my opinion, right? But last week he was like, Mom, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm just doing the side hustle. He's like, how much money are you making? Only enough to pay my Audi payment. He's like, what? Okay, let me check it out. So he's going to start doing something like that on the side, and while he goes to school full time. So I'm like, okay, I'm celebrating that fact, because I've been trying to convince him ever since he's been in my tummy. Please become an entrepreneur somehow. But
you have to be a perennial salesperson. Sell it to your partner, to your loved ones. Yes, it's continue working together. It's the sales never stop, in your home, outside of your home, all the time.
Exactly. Crystal, Elizabeth, would you like to add more to?
Sure.
Yeah, strategies and techniques.
Elizabeth, you want to go first? Or?
Yeah, sure. You're always you're always really good at capping it off. It just keeps coming up on the one that I specifically was talking about, and I think I've mentioned it before, but it's been the one that's made the biggest difference for me, and actually for a lot of people that I work with too. And that is, when those challenges are coming up, that if we remember too, that for us personally, that those are the moments. It's not about the achievement of it, that we need to reward ourselves for showing up and doing the hard stuff while we're doing it. And this is backed up by neuroscience too. So when we are encouraging ourselves and reminding ourselves that when we're putting out those fires, and I thought I was supposed to get this done today, and suddenly now I'm doing this, and we're kind of wanting to freak out about everything that's not getting done, and we're maybe beating ourselves up, to remind ourselves that by showing up and doing these hard things, these are the moments when we are becoming, becoming more courageous, when we're building more grit, more, all these, because these journeys, really, our entrepreneurial journey, I think what even attracts us, it's more about who we become in the process. That's what's really exciting about it. And that is happening in those moments, in the most challenging moments. That's the greatest opportunity for us to level up and learn something new, build up something new, more grit, more courage, more skills. And when we remind ourselves of that, it actually motivates us to continue to be more courageous, more bold, to continue, to become that person we need to be that amazing, successful entrepreneur that we want to be.
Right.
That's awesome. As always, Elizabeth, you're always giving great wisdom. So just for me, you guys know me, I follow the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. And I love the book Atomic Habits. So things like little tips that I do to kind of, get over anxiety or get over, being overwhelmed. 3 or 4 days a week, I start my day with a 1.5 mile walk with the dog, right? Just already get the jitters out, get the blood pumping, get everything going, a 1.5 mile walk with the dog. I keep a daily to-do list. That keeps me, because I'm older now. So, I write out my meetings. I know they're on the I have Denise, look, I'm over. But they have like you can buy these on Amazon, right? It's like a nice little to-do list as your time's up here. But I write down my meetings, and I write down kind of what I want to get accomplished today. But also with that, hey, what am I grateful for? What did I get accomplished yesterday? I want to make sure that I'm acknowledging those little wins as well. And then I also, whenever we're talking about kind of time management, because that's kind of what I'm hearing over that, I think about The Pursuit of Happiness, when Will Smith was like, I have to do in 6 hours what these people do in 8 because I have a child. I have a small child, he's 3, and it's very important for me to spend time with him when he gets home. And so I try to structure my day to where when he goes off to school at 8 o'clock, I'm really getting done in 10 or 12, in 6 hours, 6 or 7 hours, what people would do in 10 to 12. So yes, I cut break shorts and things like that because I want to be able to spend my evening time with him. So I think it's about prioritizing your time, probably getting clear on what needs to get done for the day. And sometimes you don't even know that as an entrepreneur, right? Like sometimes you're like, well, I did this and this, and I kind of, I guess I could do that. But, even just structuring your day to where you're getting your task done daily. And just really getting in a habit. I think that's one thing that sometimes entrepreneurs cannot do is, hey, now I'm doing it myself. I might have this free time, but you need to have a structure in your day and a habit to keep you on task with what needs to be done. It helps, one, to make sure you don't miss anything. And then two, I think it helps that overwhelming feeling, right? Like I got 90 things that I need to do. How do I get them done? Well, if I prioritize and I figure out I can do this, and today, and I can do this, and tomorrow, because you always got to leave room because something's going to pop up. Something's going to pop up during your day. So I think if you can, like I said, plan it out as much as possible, at least write it down. So hopefully you're not, forgetting tasks and everything. And literally just try to start your day with something. And this is hard to do. Believe me, I know. Just try to start your day with something that can either be fun or relaxing, walking the dog. It's great. I turn on my music. I know a lot of people are into podcasts and stuff, but I like to rock out. You hear me singing through my neighborhood at the top of my lungs every morning with my dog. But that's just my way of like, I'm gearing up for the day. It helps to get, sometimes I might get anxious about something. It helps get the jitters down. And then, you all know, if you've watched previous talks that we've done before, one of my biggest things is kind of rewarding yourself. Like at the end of a big project or the end of something's done, I try to have something small planned, whether it's like going to the beach for the week, or I had a cruise earlier in the year, something to look forward to and something to work toward, because and now that I have been in entrepreneurship for going on 7-8 years, I know the importance of having to have that break, have some recharge, have some downtime, just your family see your face, not stuck in a computer. Like it's very important for you to have that time. So those are my suggestions on keeping it simple. Just trying to just trying to maintain as much of a, I hate to use the term work-life balance because I feel like it's overused, but, just trying to keep some type of balance in your life, because I think that's important in order to keep up with making entrepreneurship a long haul, because it's not for the weak, and it's not for anybody that doesn't have patience, because you're going to have patience to get it through to the next level. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of what Mark was saying. You eat a lot of humble pie, you eat a lot of you eat a lot of like, figuring out, you get that ego out of the way, because that ego will a lot of times try to interfere. Well, no, I know this and I am the expert and it must be done this way. Well, actually it doesn't. I say this all the time, 4 + 1 is 5, but so is 2 + 3. So there is always more than one way to get something done. So that's just like my little 2 cents on keeping your sanity.
Wow. Oh my gosh. We can talk about this all day. We have shared so many nuggets, so many strategies, right? From, having the right mindset to making sure that you collaborate with the right people, and who can motivate you, who can inspire you and keep you going, through having the work and balance, like Crystal said, having all of that, and time management, and being grateful, being humble. Gosh, I don't know. Oh, I know. I'm going to add 2 more things to this, because I think these 2 examples actually I do myself. So number 1 is I'm always going to be a perpetual student. I'm always studying.
Yes.
I'm always improving, and I'm always testing things out. So no matter what happens, whether I'm an entrepreneur, a mom, or a friend, something, doesn't matter. I'm always learning. I'm always studying. So that's 1. Number 2, we cannot forget to do a little bit of self-care, guys. Self-care, right?
I was just going to add that in. Sleep. Make sure you sleep. Go to bed.
Yes, exactly. Look at that.
Yeah, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot. You must sleep, and you must take care of yourself. But I think as entrepreneurs, we really do not understand the importance of sleep and how much it regulates the body and the brain, and how it gets you prepared for the next day.
Exactly. And I don't know about you guys, but you look way younger than me. I am not spring chicken, and I need.
No, I think I win the oldest award here by a good bit.
It's,
But you know
it's
what,
interesting the conversation because right now I'm like really inundated with a lot of work, and Crystal, as you know, sponsors are very needy, right? And so I'm actually working from 5 a.m. till about 11 p.m. every day for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, we got to get some delegated stuff, lady. We you can't have that. You can do it, but you can't sustain it for the long term.
Right,
Like that's
right.
detrimental to you.
And so right, you can do that, but it doesn't sustain, and I'm about to burn out. I mean, I can feel like at what 11, now it's back to 10, 9, back to 8, right? And so this is a great reminder of you can grind a little bit, but it's not sustainable. So all these tips in here should get you to a point where you don't have to you don't have to work all those long hours, right?
Mm-hmm. You need to sleep for about one whole week of just sleep. No work, no nothing, to sleep.
I definitely need it, for sure.
We have to have that self-care no matter what, even if it's walking outside, for an hour or two every day. And I know Elizabeth remembers this from last conversation that we had, is the fact that I make sure that every Friday I turn, for the most part, I turn everything off and I try to do things for myself. So granted, it's not always 100%, right? Because there's always some emergency or what's happening, or maybe a client or a potential friend, whatever the case may be, right? The collaboration, they want to talk to me on Friday, then I make the exception. But for the most part, 80% of that day, I make sure that I take time off for me, and then the weekends are for my family, and then we can go from there. But like I said, we are not getting any younger, right? Be honest with you, we're not getting any younger, and I don't know about you, but I am more. I'll be honest, I am becoming more selfish of my time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And ladies and Mark, I love you guys, but but if you text me on an hour or a time where I'm trying to do something for myself, I'd be like, can I call you later? I love you, but I'll talk to you later. Something like that. But it's just, we're not in our 20s anymore. I remember back in the day where I was in my 20s and I would go to work, at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then be out by 5, and then still go out with my friends until 11, right? I can't do that anymore. My body's like,
Yeah, and it's making me think of what Denise was saying, because I can really relate to you, Denise. And I've got some really big deadlines coming up, and I had some fires come up. This whole thing with my computer, it was an ordeal. Let me put it that way. It took 3 computers to get it, back on track. And we can be telling ourselves when it's late at night, when we know we have all these things we have to do, that the best thing is to just keep pushing forward. And that's the way we work productively. And a big part of that self-care is checking in with ourselves and learning about ourselves and when we are the most productive. And it's been a real practice for me, because my mind and my old way of doing it wants me to push through. And it will often talk about a myth. It'll take me 10 times longer sometimes to get that work done, because I'm exhausted and I won't give myself permission to go to sleep and start fresh with a good night's sleep the next morning. And I think that's a big one for entrepreneurs, to really be checking in and learning what your algorithms are. A big part of my work now, as I'm creating courses, not just doing the coaching, there's a lot of writing involved. And I'm really learning. Those hours first thing in the morning, they're precious, and I used to tell myself, I need to exercise first, what someone else told me was the right thing to do, or something like that. It's like, no, when I wake up in that kind of dreamy state, grab my computer and do a few hours of writing from there is amazing. And that's just me. It'll be different for somebody else. But learning that, and then learning the signs, sometimes later at night, the creativity hits. But I've learned, when is it that I can push through? And when is it, no, that creativity, it's shut down, and giving myself permission then to say, even though I want to keep writing and I've got all these things that I got to do, I got to shut it off. I got to do what my body, what everything is telling, my soul, my spirit, everything is telling me that I need right now, so that I can rejuvenate and come back at 100%. And it's so much more productive. I mean, I'm really learning. It's like, it's very costly to push yourself through when you've reached your limit.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, I think that is just amazing what you just said. When I was younger in my 20s, Iris, I worked full time, I worked part time, I went to school part time, and I had an internship, and I still went out with my friends. And I pushed myself like all the time. And it wasn't until I had a child where I was like, it's okay to give yourself permission to say no to something. It's okay to say, no, I'm not going to take on this work, or no, I'm not going to tack on an extra 30 hours. Because a lot of times, as Denise pointed out, when people are coming to you, their stuff is already on fire, and they're like, no, you put it out. And I'm like, well, I didn't cause the fire, but I can try to like put it out. And so I think that's huge, in giving yourself permission to just either shut it off or shut it down, or just the opportunity to say no to things. Because sometimes opportunities, when you know they're going to take much more of your time than what you're willing to give, it's okay to say no. And I didn't really understand that in my younger years. You know, I valued like getting experience, getting money. I need to grind. I need to do this. I need to do that. But now, older and having kids, I value my free time so much more than anything else. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to work 13 hours a day. I don't want to do that. Like, and so just being able to give yourself permission, because I think a lot of us probably in entrepreneurship came from a history of hustle, a history of grind. And so that's all we know. Like Iris, mine was a little different. My parents were 9-to-5 workers. They stayed at the same job for 40 years, retired from that job. That's what I thought I was going to do. I was going to go out, I was going to find a job because it was steady. I was going to go to college. I was going to get a high paying job. I knew I was going to get a check on the 1st and the 15th, and life was going to be great. Right. And then that shifted, about 8 years ago, that whole shifted, because what I thought was going to happen, I was in an industry where it was, not nothing, but, they would reorg at any minute. So you'd be like, oh man, now I got to find another job because they decided not to do this. And I had built and invested all this, and now I got to go over here and try to build it. And then 3 years later, they reorg. So just to kind of wrap it up, I just thought that was great, Elizabeth, just giving yourself permission to say no.
Exactly. Well, this has been a wonderful, wonderful session again. I mean, we always have fun topics to talk about, right? And not only that, I mean, we share what's going on in our industry, what's going on in our lives even, as well as giving, some feedback and insights of some of the things that's working for us. And we will be doing more of this, obviously, because we have events coming up. We have so many things coming up. And I want to remind everyone, especially for those who are just now tuning in, or, you don't know many of us yet, I will be adding a lot of our information at the bottom of this recording or video. That way you can get in touch with us, because every single one of us can be invited to either your talk show or interview, or if you need some coaching, some mentoring, all that good stuff, I will be providing every single one of us information so anybody can contact us, right? So we will be doing that. And then our next live session is coming up sometime in September. I don't have the date, but I know it's going to be every Wednesday, same time. Like I said, same bat channel, same time. I'm dating myself here, right?
I was gonna say that. I was like, oh, that's the old TV series live.
That's one of my favorite cartoons, actually, growing up. But yes. So we will, you know what? I'll go ahead and add our dates to there as well. So I will be doing that behind the scenes. But before we go, I just want to say thank you again, everybody. And also, I want Mark to wrap us up because I know he has to leave at 12 o'clock or soon in a couple of minutes. So Mark, take it away.
Thank you. I learned quite a bit. I always come away with so much inspiration and encouragement. One thing I wanted to say is every entrepreneur, if you see them from the outside, is very successful, have started somewhere, and don't be afraid to start. You don't know their journey is. They may be at this amazing point in life, but they started just where you are. So start.
Just start and keep going. Keep going. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Crystal, Elizabeth, Denise, Mark. Thank you for everything that you guys do. And I will see you again